Soumya, and today we have a very interesting and a beautiful panel to listen to. These are all women who are expert in their own field: dieting, dietitians, nutritionists, chef, and a restaurant owner. So we have a huge panel which basically takes care of the nutrition, the food that we intake, and something that keeps us healthy and get going. Let me introduce Pooja Makhija. Pooja is a celebrity nutritionist, dietitian. She believes in the power of daily nutrition rather than a superfood. She has not only transformed the body of healthy individuals, but has given hope to thousands of people to live a healthy and a happy life. Helping people rebuild their faith in good food, Pooja is a mother of two adorable girls, author of Eat, Delete and Eat, Delete Junior books. She's a well-known expert who has always believed that eat not for your taste, but for your nutrition. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to move to my second panelist, a graduate of the esteemed Le Cordon Bleu, Gastronomy, Nutrition and Food Trends, the International Sports Science Association, Exercise and Nutritional Sciences, and a devotee practitioner of Ashtanga Yoga, Aoife Schropp. Aoife is one of the country's most sought after in wellness consultants, a TEDx speaker. Aoife fought a near fatal accident and racism in her own country to reach her end. Her exciting client list includes the big names of the Bollywood, yes, and from the cricketry. Let us not get into that because today it is all about Aoife. We also have the pleasure of a chartered accountant with us, the woman who changed the nation's idea of healthy eating. Sonal Barmecha has won the award for Power Woman 2020 for Western India in the food and beverage category. A chartered accountant, as I said, by qualification, she is a fitness enthusiast and with deep passion for spreading awareness about healthy living. Sonal says that she has been into fitness as long as she remembers. She refused to eat at restaurants because the food was pre-prepared. She never compromised on taste. She packs every food with loads of flavor while keeping the healthy quotient intact. And last but not the least, Shipra Khanna, the Indian answer to the world for having a glamorous chef in today's world. Her innovative content has made her a global icon with millions of fans across the world. She has won the MasterChef Season 2 for India. Her recipes, presentation and culinary skills made sure that she is a sure shot winner. Author of many books, TV personality, global icon on food, and an inspiration to many and more following on social media. Today, she is the most beloved public figure in the country, certainly is the most popular female TV chef, and numerous books that she has on her team. I welcome you all in this panel. And we are going to be talking about food, and more food in such a manner that it doesn't really make us bloat, but makes us healthy. So coming to you, Pooja, food not only impacts our physical appearance, but it also impacts our mental being. How should adults and children approach nutrition to get the optimum nutrition out of it?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for making me part of this beautiful session with such lovely speakers. I am completely enthralled. And coming to the point of nutrition and mental well-being, I think 2021 has been a year where mental health has come to the forefront. 2020 took a huge toll on us emotionally more and physically as well, and thus came to highlight the importance of mental well-being. Having said that, when mental well-being has been sadly very neglected, a front where many feel too ashamed or shy to speak up about, to talk about, to express, to seek help. But 2021 seems to have opened bigger doors, because many people have come up front to say how they are helping themselves to emotionally be stronger and up the quotient, not only through seeking help, but also coming back to basics and realizing the importance of gut nutrition as well as mental well-being. Back in the forefront, it was thought that our mind is quite the epicenter of the body. The mind is where the powerhouse of the human body lies, and the mind tells us what to do, how to behave, how to act, and all of it all. Come science and a last couple of years and the evolvement of functional medicine and the in-depth study of gut microflora and gut microbiome, we have now come to realize that it is not the brain that empowers us, but the gut that actually empowers the brain. So how you feel has a lot to do with how you eat. So you are what you eat, not only in the way how you look, but you are also how you eat from the way you think, behave, and emotionally interact with people. So children, adults, everyone needs to realize this gut-brain association. For every one signal that the brain will give the gut sends 9 signals back to the brain. So if you're looking for mental happiness, emotional satisfaction, less of mood swings, anxiety, even autism to a large extent has been able to be healed by a good diet, by realizing what each person's gut microbiome requires, feeding the gut flora in the right manner, and therefore empowering us to have stronger mental health, which has always been important, but 2021 has made us realize the importance even more. So I strongly encourage every single one of us to just do one simple act before eating. It's just the act of just eat with thought. We don't have to eat just for taste and tongue and hunger and celebration and festivities, but eat with thought, because every bite you put into your body is information, and you want to give yourself the right information to be able to live life the right way.
Wonderful. Eva, although the focus for many fitness enthusiasts has shifted from weight loss to optimum nutrition, weight management is still a trending topic. A person's weight is still considered a primary measure of fitness. What, according to you, are indicators of good health?
Okay, so the indicators of good health for me is all about how we feel. Like Pooja rightly said, everything we eat is us sending information to all of our cells, and that information is always reflected back in how we feel, how we smell things, how we taste things, and the things that we crave. The indicators of good health for me are still, just to keep it really simple, the 4 pillars of fitness. Your cardiovascular endurance, how long you can go on, your body fat percentage, how much of muscle versus how much of fat the body is carrying, irrelevant to what weight you might be. Your strength, which is the ability of our muscles to continue to support us through all of our movements well into our 80s, 90s, and God willing beyond. And our flexibility, the ability of our joints to move through their functions and do their job, whether you're a 20-year-old or a 90-year-old. I think when we at least have these 4 basics taken care of, everything else is university level, and then of course checking your cholesterols, making sure the thyroid's functioning properly, etc., etc. But these 4 pillars for me, I think, do the job.
Great. Shipra, this question is coming to you. What are some cooking principles that you ensure that the food that you prepare has or retains its nutritional value and still remains wholesome and satisfying?
Yeah, so for me, the medium that you cook in is so important, because, and also there's so many ways to cook food. You can make steamed, you can grill it, you can barbecue, you can fry. So just choose like a better way of cooking and a good medium of oil, whether it's oil or any kind of other fat that you're using in your food. And being in India, it's really amazing that we have these beautiful ingredients which are used in Ayurveda. So I really like to use the seasonal, ingredients that are readily available out there and use them in your cooking. For example, like fresh turmeric, or you have garlic, you have like so many ingredients which are, like Pooja said, it's good for the gut. So, there's so many things, and of course, every body type is different. So you go according to, your body type. I mean, everybody knows their body type the best, but vegetables on the whole are always good, to eat. So fresh and fresh ingredients, seasonal vegetables, lots of fruit, things like that. And of course, like I said, the medium. So I have this book called #Health Unlimited, which is coming up next week itself. And it's all about, we did a research on like all the ingredients that are really, really important for your health, and how you can make simple, easy recipes for even, you don't even have to be a chef. But at the same time, going through this 2-year pandemic, we all have realized that health is most important. So for that, how can you use, there's so many people who are staying alone and working, and, they don't know how to cook. So a lot of recipes that you can do without being a chef. That is what Health Unlimited has. And of course, it's been like, it's talking about all the ingredients and the historical, why historically, how we used each ingredient in our Indian food. So there's a lot of information, I think, which is really, really imperative for now, for everyone to understand and take it forward for their own self and their families. Yeah.
Great. So now coming to you, as we have heard Aoife, Pooja and Shipra, all of them talking about the gut. There are, of course, the nutritionists, the doctors, the experts, and of course our family members, and we ourselves are our own doctor half the time. What trends have you observed in terms of people's awareness when it comes to wellness cuisine?
Okay, so when I started this restaurant 6 years back, I started with a very small 40-seater restaurant. And I think probably we were the first amongst all the health food restaurants when we started 6 years back. There was no health food restaurants. I haven't heard much. And whomever I used to talk, they used to say, who is going to eat this ghas poosh? Don't even get into that. But then I had a strong instinct that this will work. And I started with a 40-seater restaurant. But back then, I used to see only people above 40 and all used to come and enjoy the cuisine. And that too, it was like once in a month they used to come, and that's how it was. And now I see a huge difference. I see a leap of difference. I see youngsters, teenagers, all of them, they booze outside, but they come and detox at our restaurant. They come regularly, they party at our restaurant, and small kids like 7-year, 8-year-old, they've started enjoying. So I see a huge shift in the wellness. I see people are too educated. They know that this is the way ahead, and they've accepted this very well. I'm so happy that Sante has also been accepted by people very well.
Pooja, you think, we need to reinvent the food, the way we eat actually in the modern time, or to rediscover the food wisdom that we have inherited? I mean, Shipra spoke about Ayurveda principle. You spoke about gut. Aoife endorses the same thing. And Sonal just concluded that people drink outside, but they come to her restaurant for detox. So is there a way where we can reinvent the food that we eat?
Well, we definitely need to reinvent everything we do. Nothing done should be stagnant. Everything needs to reinvent. But I think this time, instead of going forward and trying to do things that is not culturally us, we need to just go backward and do things the way they were done before modernization and globalization and everything hit us. According to me, the world's most healthiest diet is not the Mediterranean diet, but our Indian diet. Our Indian diet is, I wish there were more people.
I agree. I so agree with you on that. Yeah.
I just wish there would be more people who would invest in some huge studies that would come up and study people for a window of 10, 15 years, follow them up, put them on our cultural Indian diet, and then study their blood profile and their diseases. According to me, the Indian diet is the most balanced, is the most nurtured. It has medicine imbibed in every grain of khana. Our Indian kitchens are like mini pharmacies. But now we have decided to step away from our kitchens. We have decided to do quick, fancy half ready to eat cooking, because we are also pressed for time. We are also running a race and multitasking so many things. So according to me, instead of reinventing and going further and trying to become more chicer, I think we need to become more how our mummies were and how our grandmoms were, and go back to how they fed themselves and they fed their children, because that's when India was not the diabetes capital of the world. India was not the epicenter for bursting health problems. So if we go back there, we can take our population, which is a majority of us is under 35. So it's really starkly strange that we're still the diabetes capital of the world when about 70 or 75% of our population is under 35. So how is it that we are hitting these numbers? Is because we are moving away from our roots. We need to go back. We don't need to reinvent. We need to backtrace.
More like going back to the roots, like you rightly said. Sonal, as a restaurant owner, somebody who gives fresh food, somebody who has been talking about, even if you're eating out, you're eating good food. How do you tackle something like this when it comes, when people are, again, thinking of going back to the basics and going back to the home cooked food?
So this is rightly asked me after Pooja, and I want to say that exactly what Pooja is saying. We're doing exactly that. We are using all the Indian ingredients and we've given them a global look. So we are using ragi, bajri, jawar, bulgur. We're using all of these and we've given them a Mediterranean, Asian look so that people get appealed, they get interested in eating when they come out, but still they are rooted to their, Indian ingredients. So we are using all of that, Pooja.
Nice. That's good to know. See, everyone likes a little bit of bahar ka tasty khana, so that's fair if it's done intelligently. I'm not against going to the restaurant at all.
What I want to tell you is we have reinvented. We have not gone back. We've reinvented, but we have used all Indian ingredients. We've used a lot of ingredients we've made bajra risotto. So bajra people will not eat. People have been eating rice risottos. So we've made a bajra risotto, which has bajra, mung, spinach, French beans in that. And each dish is nutritional packed. So we see that it has iron, fiber, good fat, and good protein in it. So that's how our dishes are being curated. And I've been loving to see my depth of nutrition is not like you guys, but then I love to study nutrition. I'm a CA by my profession, but then because I love nutrition so much, I thought of opening this song.
It's really great. Really nice. So it's really great, Sonal, that you're taking that initiative to make restaurant food healthy, because whatever said and done, food is enjoyment and satisfaction and entertainment for all of us. So if there are places where you can go and enjoy yourself and entertain your taste buds and still not torture your body from the inside, I think that's phenomenal. And trust me, nutrition doesn't have to be known only to nutritionists. That's something I would really like to
the science. I'm just telling the science.
Nutrition is so simple. Nutrition is a very simple art of learning how to eat right. And every mother and every person can be their nutritionist by just understanding basic nutrition. They don't have to do a 5-year course like we have done. You can still learn basic nutrition to feed your family with thought and nurture. And that's not difficult at all.
And I feel if you love yourself, you will dig into and learn it.
Yes.
Wait, I believe
I am
love yourself.
Love yourself. I'm so self-obsessed about myself. I love to be fit. I love to work out. I love to eat right. But still, I'm a CA and then running a restaurant. So,
being a CA, of course, you can't put everything under the suspense account. You have to be open to share things on that. At that note, Aoife, I wanted to come to you, but I think I'll take this question to Shipra first. Shipra, while we are at going back to the roots, making the food tastier, healthier, the common misconception is that the healthy food must necessarily taste bland or unpleasant. Can Optimum Nutrition be delivered without compromising on the flavor?
Absolutely, yes. Sonal is doing it, like she said. And of course, she's using all the lost greens, which we really don't respect because we want to copy the West and we think that's more cool. But of course, like I said, India, we have gifted the world Ayurveda. And, there's so much that goes into that because, our ancestors for centuries, we've been consuming things in our daily meal which every ingredient has a reason to be there. So it's so interesting. And, when you read history and you see how things have come about and how recipes have come about, it's so interesting that, they had a balanced diet. Our Indian thali is already a balanced diet. Yes, we make it like really, we add a lot of stuff to make it like more tasty. And especially when in a restaurant, you feel that, it should be tastier. But Indian diet is a very, very healthy diet. And of course, nutritional food, like I said, like this book also is talking, and I have been talking about, because yes, I love and I am inclined towards health. And I think it's really important for people like us to actually communicate others, to put their focus onto their health, because sometimes what happens is anything that has a lot of butter or oil or fat, it's actually very delicious. We cannot deny it. So what happens is that, things that are being made like that, you don't want to like go away from the chana bhatura and the puri aloo and the kachori and samosa that you get in the market. It's very difficult, because it's really delicious. But then at the same time, if you have, somebody introducing some interesting recipe, which is maybe made with like our age-old ingredients or our lost grains or whatever, but it's made in a fancy way, it's delicious. Of course, people shift, And I have also seen this change with people accepting healthy food to be delicious, which is really amazing.
Great. Aoife, I come to you. Now, you have studied nutrition at one of the best known institutes globally. Here, the three of the panelists are talking about the Indian food being the healthiest food that comes out. Now, did they teach you something different internationally, or do you find it conflicting with the learnings that you had there, marrying it with the Indian food thought process? That's one. Two, the American society, somebody actually mentioned the body issue also, the weight coming up. Now, the American Society of Nutrition has discovered that eating disorders have actually been on the rise during this pandemic. How do you think we can combat that, marrying your international learnings with the Indian exposure?
Question number one, everything that I was trained in, was it contradictory to Indian eating principles? Is that what you meant?
I'm asking, was it different, or how?
Not at all. Not at all. I think any good school, any good teacher will say eat local. Like all of us know that we want to eat locally. We want to eat things which are locally sourced. So obviously don't eat quinoa, which is coming from South America. Eat the next closest thing. Even if you do want to do something with balga, then you've got dalia and etc. Right? So no, I don't think that any of my teachings, it's always about eat local, be intuitive. There's a lot of different reasons, why we eat food. Sometimes it's because we're hungry, sometimes because we're pissed off. Whatever your reason may be, you need to kind of address that and then eat in accordance. So, I mean, if I want to have a pizza, I want to have a pizza. If my mom says have roti sabzi at that time, I'm going to scream, like, I want that pizza now, right? So, no, it doesn't contradict. It's all, I think it's where we come from. And that's the beautiful part about food, is that it shows so much about where we come from if we just allow it to. And when I say where we come from, I don't just mean geographically. I just mean who is it? I mean, the people, if we are sitting here on a table and eating, what an amazing table this would be, because each one would bring something of where they come from, their beliefs and their upbringing and their heritage and their culture. And I think as long as that happens, that's just an absolutely beautiful thing. So I think that answers your question about, is it in contradiction about Indian culture?
Yeah, it does.
Having said that, Pooja, you have no idea what my mother ate when she was growing up. You would change your mind, girl, about what you said. You have no idea. I mean, I had to encourage my mom to completely change the way, she ate and thinks about food, because for her, it's all about entertaining and pleasing people. And, it's like, if it says 1 teaspoon of butter, then at least 100 grams must go in. Otherwise, the guest will not be pleased. And otherwise, you're a bad mother, So it's super delicious food, but...
So I'm assuming this dilution in the way we ate did not only occur with us, the dilution occurs somewhere way up there as well. So let's go back to however perhaps our grandparents or even great grandparents ate. because that's when we didn't use anything processed. That's when we literally ate farm to table. That's when we grew our own crops and made our own butter and our own ghee and did everything with. I'm not saying we all need to do that, but we at least need to come from that thought where we have to eat
real.
Yes, keep it real. Okay.
So Shipra, many restaurants now have special menus. You know, there's gluten-free, there is vegan, there is a whole lot of other jazz that comes into the picture that, you know, one gets thoroughly confused also at times. As a chef, is it confusing for you also? And is it a challenge to keep up with people's demand and their changing dietary preferences?
Yeah, as a restaurateur, and I think Sonal will also agree, as a restaurateur and a chef, it is really difficult. I mean, of course, it depends on your clientele as well. But it is really difficult to, you know, keep changing menus, coming up with new ideas. And of course, like, ideas do come about. But still, internationally, globally, you know, chefs are feeling this stress of doing better than the previous menu, you know, or things to come up next, you know. So it's been a lot of stress globally for chefs around to come up with new ideas and new menus. Definitely.
So now, how do you guys keep up with it? Also, you know, each one of us have a different preference and a different health goal altogether. Are there any common rules of eating that we probably look at, you know, as a restaurant that you would serve? Otherwise, you might as well start a different service, you know, pertaining towards each diet. But as a restaurant owner, do you have something like that?
See, you know, as a restaurant, as you know, as a menu, I mean, it also depends on the theme of the restaurant. If it is a healthy restaurant, or what cuisine are you serving, and you know, then accordingly you go gluten-free or vegan. But otherwise, you know, in a regular restaurant that you go, they don't have these choices. But yeah, if you're making that niche kind of a restaurant, definitely, I think it's a good idea to have, you know, different segments in food or menus.
Sonal, what's your take on this?
Can I pop in a question? Can I pop in a question to both the restaurateurs? I want to know that when fuss pot people like me come to your restaurant and make specific requests, make me this with less oil, make me that with less cream, make me that with less blah blah. Do you guys actually pay heed to these requests?
Yes, I'll tell you.
Of course,
I have loads of people coming like this. I mean, people just come from, they're going through cancer, they're going through so many diseases, they come with a lot of expectation, and they directly call me and tell me, Sonal, we need this, and this is our requirement. And I feel so good, so overwhelmed to see that they are satisfied and satiated with healthy, tasty food and plus their requirements. That is my goal, that is my achievement, when all these kind of people come here and go happy. So for me, food is not only health food. I mean, I don't only see with the per se of power packed nutrition food, but of course you should be mentally happy. So what I teach my bachas around, my service people around, is just be happy. Keep smiling. We've created kind of vibes where we have chakra, we have Buddha, we have waterfall, we have lot of greenery. So the moment you enter the restaurant, you should feel happy. Whatever depressed you are, whatever tensions you have with, whatever fights you have with, but the moment you enter the restaurant, you should be happy. So here, all my bachas have been told, keep whatever problems you have, leave behind and just carry a smile on your face, though you don't know the menu. That doesn't matter. I'll handle everything else. But I want you all to smile and see that everyone, each one of us who comes to the restaurant as a guest should go happy from here. So for me, more than food, as Pooja rightly said, it's not only nutrition-packed food, it's also the mental health. Because nowadays, what people are eating or what people are taking is not only food and nutrition, but they're taking a lot of stress, abuse, what people are saying. There is a lot of botheration about all these things, and that is toxic. Though you're eating superfood, but if you're toxic with all these things, still you're not healthy. So then it's so important. So be happy, at peace, and enjoy the food, enjoy that moment, and each morsel should be imbibed and your cells should be dancing happily inside you, you know. That is our motto. That is what we want to serve people. And that is what the atmosphere we create, the kind of music, the kind of vibe, the waterfall, the smile on our faces. That's what we want to create in Sante.
And also, I would like to add, it's called hospitality sector. So there we have to like, Atiti Dev Bhava. So whoever is coming is God. So you got to like please and make like the best and serve the best. That is what it is.
Great. Aoife, I come to you now. There was a second part of the question which we kind of left behind because we got carried away with our discussion. During the pandemic, the eating disorder has really been on the rise. What can be done to combat this? That's part one of the question. Two, is there a fitness philosophy that you share with the clients which could be widely practiced and easily incorporated in our daily lives? Sonal did mention that having a smile, it's a very easily done practice. But that's, Shimra also added, that's also hospitality part of it. Is there something that you would suggest, Aoife, what can be done?
First question, as far as, was that body image or are you saying eating disorders?
Eating disorder. During the pandemic, it has gone on a rise.
I didn't know because there's so many jokes going on around about how people are so comfortably getting fat. So I didn't even know that, that was a thing. However, having said that, yes, eating disorders is on the rise. And I think that's just more reflection about how eating is becoming disordered. We've got so much exposure now to how people are eating all over the world. We've got so much exposure to people with, 6-pack, 8-pack on Instagram, mother of 3, looking, wow, look at her butt, look at her this, look at his abs. We've got so much that we're bombarded with all this information, and it's stored in our brains in a disorderly manner. It becomes about, oh, she looks wow, and she is doing intermittent fasting, so I must do intermittent fasting. He looks wow, and he's doing ketosis, so I must do ketosis. And when I say disorder, I think this is in a simplistic way, this is the root of all or most disorders. When we take some absolutely perfect piece of information and we store it in this jumbled up manner, it's like, saying the dog bit Johnny is the orderly way of putting that syntax, but Johnny bit the dog. It's the same words, but if I've just moved the words around in the order of it, I've created disorder, I've created disharmony, and I've created disease, right? So for me, the simplest strategy is if I eat something and if it appeals to all my 5 senses, which means it needs to look reasonably good, even if it's a Monday lunch that's on the move. For me, that means color. For different people, it may mean something else. For me, my food needs to look colorful, it needs to look fresh, and it could be something as simple as a sandwich, or it could be the beetroot sabzi with my roti or whatever. It needs to have color, it needs to have some freshness. It needs to sound good. I know I sound weird when I say that, but for me, food has a sound, and sometimes you do want something that's crunchy, sometimes you want something that's soothing, and so on and so forth. So if it's pleasing all your 5 senses, most importantly, how you feel. If you're going to eat a meal, even if it's absolutely organic, if it's absolutely desi, if the great grandfathers and grandmothers have come down and blessed it and made it, and all the amazing yoga masters I've read about, and they come down and they say, this is the most sattvic, but I feel like shit after that, which means I feel bloated, I feel gassy, I feel like, I don't know, I think I'll just take a nap, then that's not for me. And I think now at this age, I stopped trying to justify that. I stopped trying to figure out, but that mentor said eat like that, and that book said, I'm like, screw that. If it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to eat it. If I didn't like it, I'm not going to eat it. If I get onto the weighing scale the next day and I'm like, oh my God, why the hell did I eat that? I'm not going to eat it. It's that simple. But somebody else might eat the same meal, and I've had that. I've had friends, clients, family eating exactly the same meal and feeling absolutely wow. I have a client who can eat rice every single day and she'll drop weight like that. If I eat rice every single day, I am spreading like a balloon. Right now, why? I have no idea. It's just my body. It's, but I do great on wheat. Give wheat to my client and she won't do well at all. She'll spread like a cow. So it's just what's good for us. If it feels good, you feel the food looks good, you like the way you look when you're eating it. If all those 5 senses come together, and for me, that's sensual. Like food needs to be sensual. If somebody puts like a lump of food on my plate, I don't like it, but somebody else might love it. For them, that's comfort eating. That reminds them of, being comforted by their mother and all of that, and being at home, away from home, all of that. For me, it does not. Before we came in, I was chatting with Sonal, and I was telling I practically grew up next door to where her restaurant is, which was the Osho Commune. And so I left home when I was 16. So what I bring to the table is that for me, food is fun. It's like, it's somebody on the table was German, somebody was French, somebody was English, I was Indian, somebody was something else. And that was fun. It was like somebody made sushi, and there was a Maharashtrian girl who had chutney, and we used to dip the sushi in the chutney and eat it. It was absolutely normal. There was nothing abnormal about it, in those days. And I loved that. It was fusion in its truest form. And as kids, we never questioned it even once. I would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the German bakery at least 6 days of the week. And it was absolutely cool. So when people say, oh my God, eating out makes you fat, I don't know what they're talking about, because I didn't grow up like that. I ate out every single day. And then if I had to eat home 5 days a week, I got bored, and then my weight would go up. But I would eat out, and I'd just like nibble on a sandwich, have a juice. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that what's right for us is what feels right for us in that moment. And we have to have the open-mindedness to accept that as our truth, and be open-minded knowing that in the next decade of my life, that may not serve me. I used to be a chronic smoker at one time, and absolutely cool with it. And as I grew up, I realized that that wasn't serving me. That wasn't helping me demonstrate the best of who I was to myself. And so I dropped it. But you know what, for somebody else it might work, and that's totally cool. So I think the best strategy is to really learn to be true to ourselves and not be ashamed of it. I think these problems with eating disorders only start because you just take somebody else's truth and you say, okay, that's the Bible truth. It's intermittent fasting now, guys. It's intermittent fasting, and all of you bad people who don't do intermittent fasting are out of this conversation, right? I mean, this is disorder. So it's great that if we can all just be open-minded and hear things out, because that's when we learn something, experiment with it. If you like it, keep it. If you don't like it, chuck it. Next. That's the philosophy. It's called next.
Great. Now coming to this one is probably to all of you. I'll take a take from each one of you on this, and this probably would be also the last question that I'm throwing at you all. Eating according to the season and eating what is local. These are the key rules of nutrition that we have learned in the West and in India as well. With the winters approaching, what would you recommend as a winter diet? And is there a concept of superfood? If yes, what is the superfood for winter?
I would say carrots and beetroot. I think and oranges. There are 3 things that come in winters and are like amazing. And touching Ayurveda, I would say like raw turmeric. I love it. It's really, really good.
I think Shipra gave the answer for all of us. Living in Mumbai, I don't really see that much winter per se. So our winters, yeah, even at 21 degrees, we remove our jackets. So that's the best winter we can get. So there's not really any winter food other than fresh turmeric is the only thing that I really enjoy making a pickle of and making my hands all yellow. That's the best
part is you get it in Mumbai. I come from the north and it's readily available. But here, I'm like, if you see it, you're like, oh wow, I'm going to grab this, It's really nice. Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I would introduce in my winter diet is make a nice pickle that lasts me a little while of our summer as well.
So we kind of make a small winter menu. We make sizzlers because everybody likes to have something popping hot. And then we make sizzlers, we make tupka soup, and we make a very good antioxidant juice, which is apple, no, not apple actually, pineapple, carrot, turmeric, and orange. So we make a mix of this, and that's like a fast moving and fast selling during the winters because it has everything which has a specialty of winter food accompanying them. And we try to make a small winter menu basically with all these ingredients which Shipra mentioned.
Eva?
We all are
right. So I don't know if you guys know where I am. I'm in Lonavala, so I'm in the heart of what eating local means because you ain't getting any arugula here, right? I mean, I was thrilled to see like a lettuce. Like the day I saw the lettuce in the market, I was like, give me the iceberg. And I was like, who's this mad woman coming
But
for
have
the
you
lettuce?
tried growing it like around you? Like, have you tried growing it? Does it? I'm sure the weather's so good. You get like
Oh, yeah,
amazing
we grow.
guavas.
So,
Yeah, right.
yeah, guavas, I mean, is a bit of a far cry even for me and my mom, but we grow. So
But they
we
have
grow
the
our
pink
salads.
guavas, which are really rare. You know, the pink from the center. It's really rare
Yeah.
to find. But you get it in Lonavala.
Seedless. They're almost seedless.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get that. So yeah, so I don't have a choice but to eat local. Even if I don't want to eat local, I have to eat local. So, but yeah,
And
everything's
so good,
available. Pumpkins, I think pumpkins are yum. So we have a lovely orange tree. You know those tiny little oranges? I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's in our
tangerine.
garden and they grow like mad. And mom makes the
Oh, wow.
most delicious marmalade.
Aoife, I need that marmalade that your mom made. So yeah, I'm not sharing my address, but for
Soumya,
my
you can just be a part of the conversation. This is like a female lunch happening.
I know.
so the viewers, what we have learned here is that yes, haldi is gonna be the superfood for this season. We also learned that you need to know your body type before you eat that haldi. Eat right, eat whatever you want to eat, but eat it very conscious. And this, I think, would be a summing note from us, all of us here in this panel. And we're gonna catch up with you guys soon. Thank you so much for being a part of this panel. Very interesting, very informative, a lot of learning.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.